Here's what they don't tell you about solo traveling. Honestly, I'm so sick and tired of hearing, oh, you need to go solo traveling. You need to go solo traveling. I think you should. Don't get me wrong. I think that you should. I think there's so many benefits to solo traveling, but what they don't talk about is how lonely it gets, how boring it can be, how uncomfortable you're going to feel basically on the day to day, having to figure out new languages, language barriers, cultural differences, what it's like dating on the outside versus dating in America. It is so different, by the way. Would I take it all back? Absolutely not. I think this was my favorite by far summer that I've ever had in my life. European summer of 2024 went the fuck in. Let's get into it. I'm going to wrap it all up in a little bow, okay?
I'm sorry, your request was wifey level. You're currently on the girlfriend package. Please upgrade to unlock this feature.
Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Wifey. I am your host, respectfully Gabby, and in this podcast, we talk all things dating and relationships in this modern day. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Gabby. I'm an online dating coach where I'm also, by the way, dropping a little sprinkles, but I'm dropping a little gems here. I'm also a matchmaker. I have been working on this for quite some time now, and I will say, if you want to get on early, if you've ever considered a matchmaker, if you've ever been tired of the dating apps, which we all are kind of at that point of our lives, if you're tired of the dating apps, I am offering a really, really low entry rate. And by the way, these prices are going to go up. So if you've ever considered it, now would be the time. Just started doing this. I've been working on this whole plan for quite some time. So if you've ever considered it, and by the way, guys, dropping this bits of information, I've been a recruiter for 6 years now. I'm just like, this makes the most sense. I'm constantly making these connections all the time in a professional setting. But now with my dating coaching, I'm like, why have I not done matchmaking? I just feel like this is the most logical next step for me. So if you've ever considered it, now is the time. I'm also still doing the dating coaching for now. So if you've ever considered dating coaching, that's still there, but I probably will pull back my availability a lot on that in a couple of weeks. So keep that in mind. If you want to book a session, now is your time. I have another big announcement. It's like constant, big, crazy announcements right now, but I am moving to Dubai. Really kind of, this is just a weird story, and I just want to quickly get into this before I talk about solo traveling. But for the past 2 years now, I felt so unsettled. I've kind of just been traveling around. I've been doing my own thing. I've been living with my family. I just have been in and out. I've not been settled. I've not taken dating actually really seriously. To actually be settled in a place, I'm so excited because I just want to settle myself into a place. I don't know what it feels like to actually have a home, to have a room. I mean, this is my own room right now, but to have my own decorations, to have my own things going on, to have my own closet, to have all of my belongings in one place, to have a place where I can call home to go back to. I'm so excited, you guys. I think the biggest thing that I have learned through my solo traveling, honestly, I'm craving stability at this point. I'm tired of living out of a suitcase. I'm tired of having temporary connections. I'm tired of going from place to place, trying to start all over again. And it's actually exhausting at a certain point. I'm getting tired of it, which is why I decided to come home a little bit earlier, which I'm glad I did because this opportunity came, and now I'm moving to Dubai in a week. And it's crazy because a year ago, I was literally looking at messages, and a year ago, I sent a text message saying to my friends, I'm moving to Dubai. Everyone was like, you shouldn't do that so far. It's so dangerous. I don't know about that. It's kind of doesn't really seem like the best idea. And I bought into it. But at the same time, it's these people haven't done their research. They don't know what Dubai is like. They've never been there, but they're throwing out their opinions. I bought into it, and I'm like, okay, well, then maybe I'll change my mind. And so I've been so attached for the past year of getting to London. If you guys know me, if you guys have been listening to this, you know that I've been obsessed with getting to London, and that has been my main goal. I'm going to put all of my eggs in London. That's the only thing I want. I'm so focused on getting to London. I'm so attached to the idea that it has to be London. And I spent the summer there, and then I spent the summer in other places in Europe. That kind of showed me that there's other places that I would like outside of America that isn't London that I can easily fit into, that I would enjoy myself, that I would have a good time. So at that point, I think I was like in Portugal when I had this whole realization. I'm like, I have been forcing the London thing for a year, like exactly a year. It's been since like August to August. Honestly, at this point, I have given it all I got. And I'm a big proponent of like, keep trying. But at a certain point, it's like, I've been trying. Okay, I've been trying to get to this and it's just not working. Like something's not fitting. So let me take a step back, reassess the situation. And I really was praying and I like told myself, I'm like, okay, life, if I'm not supposed to be in London, fine, I'm cool with it. But I do want to still be outside of America and I still want to relocate. I'm detaching from the idea of London. Wherever I'm supposed to be, make my pathway easy for me to get there and make it really obvious that it's like so good of an offer that I can't turn down. I kid you not, within a week, I got a message from a company that I had interviewed in London, and they're like, we actually have a Dubai office. Would you be interested in going in Dubai? I'm like, actually, this is so weird timing, but yes. I had my final interview and everything they're like, okay, let's do it. Let's go on. And now I'm moving to Dubai, which is insane. This was my original plan. Like, I really wanted this originally. I went back on my text messages in a year from the date of my first interview that I had with these people was the day that I said, I'm going to move to Dubai to my friends. And what I gathered from this whole thing is that sometimes we think we know what we want. We think we know that we're so certain about a certain thing that we want. When in actuality, if we take a step back, we detach from it, there's probably some other options that are available to us that we maybe haven't really explored or we haven't been open to seeing, that are so much better of an opportunity. That, like, even in love, like in our dating lives, like we're so sure that it's this one guy that we're so obsessed with, right? But if you take a step back, you detach and say, God, like, life, universe, whatever, it's in your hands. I'm releasing my attachment to this. Then the love of your life, your soulmate, your husband, who actually treats you right, who does all the right things, who's so much better than this loser that you've been attached to, comes into your life, and you're like, okay, wait, was not expecting that. It's when you're not looking, right, that things just happen and things come to you. And I'm like, this is such an obvious choice for me, because first of all, not only are they just based in Dubai, but they're also based in London. And he's like, if you want to go work in London for a month, whatever, it's cool. I'm like, this is best case scenario. I get to live in like a hot climate, and then come in the summer months, I'm out to London. Like, that is perfect. And I get to see all of my friends that I just made in London. Like, amazing. This could not have been a better offer for me. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say, sometimes things happen for you that aren't going to be on your timeline. And sometimes you just have to trust and be patient that it is still available and not to give up. Sometimes things aren't going to look exactly the way that you want them to, but sometimes that's a good thing. Okay. And in my case, I think that was probably the most beautiful thing that's happened. I'm excited to get there. Hopefully I love it and everything's fine. And if I hate it, then I'm off to London, and they would sponsor my visa in London. So I'm happy either way. Anyway, guys, this is like, sorry, that was such a long intro, but let's talk about solo traveling. For the past 5 months, almost 5 months, I've been traveling throughout Europe and in London. I stayed in London for about 3 months, and then was in Portugal for a month and a half, and then I ended my trip in the south of France, and I kind of bounced around to different cities in the south of France, primarily stayed in Nice. I want to talk about like the things that people don't really talk about in solo traveling and what that looks like. Obviously, I think there's so many benefits to solo traveling. I think that everyone should just go out. If you're single and you have the opportunity to go, like if you're working remotely, or if you have the opportunity, even if it's just for like a weekend or whatever, just get out and go, because you will learn so much about yourself. But I think the fact that I stayed in places for a little bit longer of a period of time, when I was in I started my trip in London and I stayed there for 3 months. I made amazing friends. Everyone that I met there, people that I want in my life. I still keep in touch with them. So thankful for this summer, because I think that it was just so nice to like make good friendships. Like that was my whole point of being in London. I didn't even really want to date that much. I did date around, but I think the point of it was like, let me settle in and let me try to get like acquainted and let me try to feel if I can build a life here. And with that, I kind of want to make friendships first, because I think that's the most important, that like you having your own life established before getting into a relationship and doing all the things. So I wanted to make solid friends. That's exactly what I did. I had my Hinge up, but honestly, most of the people that I met on Hinge turned into friendships. I'm gonna break that down. How do you meet people abroad when you're like solo traveling? I'm not a hostel girl, and I'll never be a hostel girl, and I know that about myself. I think I would really freak the fuck out if I was staying in a bunk bed cell with like other people. That would really freak me out, especially like I need my own space, I need my own bathroom, I need my own shower, I need my own thing. And I was also working at the time, like I need my own space. How did I meet friends in that scenario? I was actually really blessed in London because I had people coming from the States that were like, hey, I see you're in London, do you want to meet up? And I would meet up with them, and they would introduce me to other girlfriends in the area that I ended up being friends with and hanging out with for the remainder of my 3 months. So that was really good. I had a couple of different girl groups, which was perfect. I also met girls through, there's so many things that you can look into, you guys, but one of the things that I did, there was a girlfriend group thing that you can sign up for. There's an event where you can make friends, and it was all girls. You just kind of mingled, got drinks, whatever. And it was such a good time. I met some really amazing girls that I saw that they just like all went on a trip together, the girls that I had met. That's so cute that just off of this event, these girls that have never met before are all traveling together to a different city. Like, that's so cool. I was obviously back in the States, but I saw them. They looked like they had a blast. But besides that, use the connections that you do have. If you know anyone, reach out to them. If you have any like, hey, give me a recommendation. Maybe they're like, oh, well, actually, by the way, I have this other friend. Why don't you meet this other friend? People want to help, especially if you're reaching out for some kind of help. Other apps, there's like solo traveling apps, I found out later in my trip, but there's solo traveling apps. There's so many people are on those apps. It's a lot of younger people. So if you're young and you're like maybe anywhere from like 18 to like 20s, tons of those age range. I probably was like more older, but I'm hip, I'm cool, I can hang out with the kids. It was nice because in Portugal, I'm like, I need to be around girlfriends, and I met this really lovely Russian girl who we went out to dinner, and then we went out to go party, and it was such a good night. Like, we had such a good time. She barely spoke English, but we still had such an amazing time. I'm like, there's just, people should just like, I don't know, you just get to know different cultures, you get to know different people. I feel like I've learned so much about different languages and different types of cultures and whatever, just being abroad, and it's opened my mind up so much. Had I traveled with friends, did our typical thing that we do, like travel, eat around, drink around, I wouldn't have been as open to meeting new friends and making new connections because I would have my own crew. If you're going by yourself, it really makes you like, no, I have to do this now. You have to put yourself out of your comfort zone, or else you're going to be extremely lonely. Like, when I first got to London, I started getting like really anxious, like, fuck, like, what did I just get myself into? I only know a couple people. They're guys and they want something from me, obviously, that I'm not really willing to like give up. I'm just kind of stuck. Take every opportunity that you have. I had a friend in my very first day in London. I had a friend that I had met through TikTok. Like, meet people through TikTok, through Instagram, reach out to them. It's not weird unless you make it weird. And if they don't respond, then whatever, they're not open. One of the girls that I had met in London actually said this, and it really clicked for me. She was like, people want to connect. It is a normal human thing to want to connect. And once you understand that about people and you just make the first step, a lot of people are actually open to forming a connection, a moment of a connection. If they're not, it's very evident, and you just keep on moving. And that has nothing to do with you or your worth. Just because you got rejected by someone who's not open to forming any other connections. And she said that, and I'm like, wow, people really do want to connect, especially if you're by yourself. Like, if you see someone by themselves, they're so much easier to talk to. I would go out by myself sometimes in London, just like walking around or whatever. People would talk to you. Like, I feel like you are so much more open to a conversation when you're out by yourself. It's not as weird. It's not weird unless you make it weird. I can promise you that. The biggest thing that I learned after spending a long amount of time in places, so 3 months, I met people and it was super good. I was devastated. My last day, I'm like, why did I even decide to change locations? I want to stay in London. I don't want to go anywhere else. I have to stay here. And I was like crying on the plane going to Portugal. I'm like, why did I pick Portugal? I know no one in Portugal. What am I doing in Portugal? I just heard that it was a place that a lot of solo travelers go doing the remote working thing there. So I'm like, I feel like it might be a good place for me. I don't really know much about Portugal. But the first night I get there, I'm working. I worked the entire day, and this guy from Hinge was like, hey, you want to go out to dinner tonight? And I'm like, well, I work late. I get off at like 10 o'clock. And he's like, oh, no worries. Like, we'll have a late dinner. It's not a big deal. So I was like, you know what? It's my first night. I might as well. I don't know how interested I really am in this person, but let me just see it out. We go on a date and he literally shows me everything. He was so perfect, such a gentleman, super respectful. And then we kind of like went out dancing a little bit. He listened to me. I listened to the fact that I love croissants. I love matcha. And then the next day he's like, I want to deliver something to your house. He sends me an Uber Eats order with matcha and a croissant in the morning. I ended up spending the entire time in Portugal with this guy, this French man. I want to kind of talk about cultural differences because I'm super open. I don't want to date an American guy. I think that's like really boring and too much like me. I want to date a guy coming from a different culture, coming from a different country, someone who knows other things than I do, and like to come together and him like, wow, you grew up in America, how cool. And I'm like, wow, you grew up in France, how cool. But we spent the entire time together. Honestly, such a good time. When I was leaving, I was fucking devastated. Like, I was so sad to leave Portugal. I don't want to leave, but like I also already booked my trip to the south of France. I feel like I have to go. We grew super fucking close during that month that I was in Portugal. We were texting after the fact and I'm like, you know what? Was it as deep as I really was thinking? Because it felt really good in the moment. It felt like, you know, we were communicating well. We were laughing all the time. We had such amazing times. He literally showed me the best places to go in Portugal. We drove almost every weekend to like another place in Portugal that was like an hour, 2 away. Went to all the different beaches that they have. When I left, when we were trying to communicate, it was just like kind of the same kind of conversations. And I'm like, we were communicating just fine in person, but like maybe that there is some sort of language barrier because he just learned English 2 years ago and his English is good, but I think there's some things that I say that he doesn't really understand what I'm talking about, which is fine, right? Like, I think that that's fine. Like, obviously there's so many people that get together and they're like, they speak different languages and they make it work, but for me, I really do crave deep, intimate conversations, and I think there's a certain point where your English can take you to. You have to understand what I'm talking about. And a lot of our conversations ended up being Google translated. I don't know that I can do this. I think that it was really great in the moment, but what I have learned from it is that he's really set the bar of like respect that I am expecting from my significant other. Like that, he was so respectful. Not a second was like questioning his intentions, wanted to make me happy, very giving, just such a genuine person. If anything, he showed me that there's people like him out there. When I left Portugal and I left him, I can't keep doing this. Every single goodbye that I have been giving, whether that was from London or now Portugal, they keep getting harder. Every goodbye keeps getting harder. And I'm like, I need stability in my life. I need to be in a place now where I can take a step back and actually form long-term meaningful connections, because every time I have to say goodbye, it gets harder and I have to start fresh and I have to start making new connections in the place. And at the end of it, when I was in Nice for 2 weeks, I was exhausted. I could not meet another fucking person. I was basically by myself, and that was when the loneliness started to hit. I started to feel super lonely, especially being in the south of France. There's not a lot of solo travelers at all, so I was kind of by myself for a majority of the trip until my friend joined me at the very end. Honestly, before that, I was really feeling I need to get out of here. I need to be around my people. I'm feeling super lonely, and I wasn't even in the place where I wanted to form any type of connection either, because I had just formed this crazy good connection with someone. And then even before that, like the friends that I had made in London, I'm like, I'm so tired of having to say goodbye each and every time that I leave. So I wasn't even open to making connections in France. I'm done. I'm done. I'm ready to go home. I'm over this. I'm tired of living out of a suitcase. This is not it for me. And honestly, when I made that decision, I had gotten an offer from this Dubai place. The timing of everything is immaculate. Like, I had made that decision. I'm done with the solo traveling. I'm over this. I need stability. I need to know where my gym is, know where I'm about to wash my clothes. Like, it's just small things. The best place to get somewhere to eat. Like, I know the places around me. I need familiarity in my life. And I need to, like, have some sort of routine, because laying by the beach every single day by myself. At one point, I did meet these Irish girls on the beach, on one of the beach clubs in Nice. And they were so sweet. One of them had asked me, oh, you've been solo traveling. Do you ever get lonely? And I'm like, it hit my soul. This is the most lonely that I have felt in a really long time. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're the type of person that is so scared to get themselves out of their comfort zone, maybe solo traveling isn't for you. But stop waiting around for other people to live your life, because I can guarantee you the connections that I've made during this trip, I would have never formed if I didn't step outside of my comfort zone, left and just said, send it, I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm traveling, this is it. I'm so thankful that I took the leap of faith, because I can tell you right now, I never thought I'd be the person to be able to travel alone and like be comfortable with it. But I'm so comfortable with it right now, and I feel like it gives you the sense of self-identity and confidence. So many people want to do this, but not a lot of people actually go out, and you see it sometimes, obviously, like on your pages and TikToks and whatever, that people talk about solo traveling. But until you actually experience it for yourself, it's always going to be a thought in the back of your head, like, should I do this? The world is not as scary as we make it out to be. Find places that are easy to solo travel. Portugal was such a good, easy place to solo travel. Very comfortable being by myself. I felt like the language barrier wasn't as bad as I was anticipating. Even in France, I feel like the language barrier was not as bad as I was anticipating. There's so many other places you can go that are safe, that are so much safer than America. And I think it's really funny now hearing people talk about, oh, well, you know, if you go to that country, it's going to be so unsafe and blah, blah. I'm like, look around. Are you delusional? What brainwash are you under that you're in America? It is so fucking dangerous here. You are in a country where you can literally go to the store and have it be shot up, and it not even really make headline news of it being this crazy thing, because it's so normalized. We are living in a very dangerous country, by the way, and people want to say, oh, well, you're going to Europe, or you're going to South America, or you're going wherever, it's so dangerous, you have to watch your back. The worst that can happen is you being pickpocketed. Watch your fucking back. Don't be stupid. Don't leave things in your pocket. It is not as scary as people make it out to be. And for the longest time, I was so scared to go to a country that didn't speak English, because I'm like, I'm going to be lost. I don't know what I'm going to do. I won't have anyone. I'm going to be by myself. I'm not going to know anything. Truly is not that scary. I promise you. If you've ever thought about solo traveling, just figure out a way to do it. And I get that not everyone has the luxury of like up and going and saying peace. Even if it's just like a weekend staycation somewhere else, getting away for the weekend, go somewhere cheap. There is so much self-exploration that has happened over this past summer, and I think the biggest picture for me that I've gotten out of this is that I'm craving stability. The cultural differences, and the reason why I think I'm just so not attracted anymore to American men is that even my parents have called this out. I'm watching right now with them Love is Blind UK, and they're like, this is so much different from the American version. I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Do you see why I want to get out of America? Like, they're all fucking babies. They're big babies. Truly, this is what I think has happened to our culture. In America, I think there's so many homes that have grown up without fathers and have not figured out quite how to be men. I'm not saying it's necessarily a them problem, because that is some serious trauma that people have gone through, but it is up to them to make the change in their lives. And I don't think a lot of our culture in America wants to make that change. I think that dating from America to then dating different cultures in Europe and in the UK, I'm just like, I've dated so many different cultures that I kind of understand. It's a US problem. Yes, there are some like not so great people anywhere that you go, but for the most part, the guys I have met abroad are looking for something serious. They know how to treat women. Respectful for the most part. Maybe not all, but they're respectful for the most part. They just treat you so much different, and they're open about their feelings. It's not this like scared, I'm so scared to attach, I'm so scared to like get involved with something serious. There's not that scared energy. Like, I feel like dating in America, there's this like, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. And then you end up in these like 6-month long, years long situationships with this man who can't quite figure it out. When you're dating abroad, and I think this is why I have such a draw to go somewhere outside of America, it's like, to me, I love culture and I love learning different pieces. I love having a different diverse background than someone. I think, to me, I think that's how you learn and how you grow. But not only that, but I think that they take dating more seriously. I didn't necessarily notice a huge difference. Typical British guy maybe isn't like the best, and I get that. I've kind of changed my view on British men. I think for the most part, like just Europe in general, they're not scared of commitment. Yes, there's some guys that are like players. They're still in their player ways that maybe don't want that. For the most part, like from what I've experienced, they're not scared of those things. And they're like very much open-minded about like, oh, like, let me show you around and let me, how can I help you? Like very serving. Whereas I feel like American men are like very selfish and like, what can you do for me? And I can't get behind that energy. And I think the most beautiful part of about to be moving to Dubai is that it's so diverse and people are coming from everywhere. And I think that just having that mentality to relocate from where you're from is such an open-minded thing. And I'm so excited to get to experience and being around such a diverse place. That is it for this week's episode. I hope you got something out of this. I get that it wasn't fully based around like dating in today's world, but I think that sometimes dating yourself and like putting yourself out there and making yourself uncomfortable in doing the things that you actually want to do, because look, I could have met my actual soulmate on this trip. And had I not left America, because that's my comfort zone, I would have never met those kinds of people. And I've heard so many stories on TikTok like, oh, I went somewhere and then I ended up engaged and blah, blah, blah. Get outside of your comfort zone. Maybe your soulmate isn't where you're from. The more that you stay where you're at, the less that you'll know. And you probably won't ever find out. Do something today to push you outside of your comfort zone, because that is where you're going to see the most growth in your life.